If your dog won't stop licking their paws, you're definitely not alone. Paw licking is one of the most common complaints owners have, and the biggest thing is that they usually don't know what the cause is. And some people assume it's allergies, and others assume it's grass or pollen. But something they often don't consider is that it could be food. And my name is Rachel Goldstein. I'm not an expert, but I've done a lot of research recently. I've had dogs my entire life. I have 3 right now, and they have the same issue, licking their paws or scratching behind their ears or biting at their paws. And I've spent more time than I'd like to admit trying to figure out why they're doing this and what I can do to help them. So I hope I can share my experience with you and that it helps you a little bit in the future as well. Okay, so before we talk about food, I do want to talk about just some of the different reasons a dog could be licking their paws. And paw licking is a symptom, it's not a diagnosis. So it's important to know what could be causing it because that's obviously going to affect how you're going to solve that problem. So it could be environmental allergies, it could be irritation from chemicals, it could be an injury. A lot of dogs do this from anxiety, stress, or boredom actually, which might surprise people. But it's sort of like not a nervous tick necessarily, but they get bored and that's just what they do to alleviate their boredom. It could be parasites, it could be skin infections, and paw licking generally doesn't come alone. It comes with ear scratching, sometimes ear infections, red skin, itchy skin on other parts of their body, and then again, just constantly chewing on their feet. And there's so many different possibilities, and so when a dog is often licking their paws, it doesn't always mean that food is the cause. However, trying to change their food and figure out if that is the cause is often one of the easiest things to do, because you can go through an elimination diet and you can try to make sure that you're taking out the right ingredients, and you can sort of just trial and error and see what works and what doesn't. So there's a few reasons why food often becomes a main suspect when it comes to dogs licking their paws. And that's because some of the commercial foods, they have so many ingredients in them, and a lot of the times unnecessary ingredients, to be honest, from preservatives to flavorings, food coloring, fillers, additives. There's so many things in most of these foods that could potentially lead to itchy paws or allergies or skin conditions. So one of the best ways to get started trying to figure out the problem with your dog and licking their paws is to start making their food much simpler. And so a lot of owners start looking at foods with fewer ingredients, clearly identified proteins, and no artificial colors. And they start to sort of just pick and choose and see what starts to work for them. Okay, so I said elimination diet earlier, and that is a big part of trying to figure out if food is the problem for your dog. And I just quickly want to go through what that really means. So an elimination diet basically is the process of feeding your dog a very limited type of food for a consistent period of time. And part of the problem with this is sometimes people will change their dog's food to something with less ingredients, but they'll keep giving them treats and table scraps and dental chews and snacks, and they wonder why nothing has changed. And it's possible that nothing has changed because the food isn't the problem, but it's also possible that it hasn't changed because they're still getting all of these other foods that they really shouldn't be eating. So that's one of the biggest mistakes dog owners do, and then giving up too soon is another mistake that they make. So just understanding what an elimination diet is, how it works, and that you really need to be consistent and patient with it is really important here. And then I do want to go through some of the potential options that you can choose for food and some things that I've tried and kind of figured out for myself. So there's, of course, fresh food options. So we could talk about some of those. One common brand that comes up is Just Food for Dogs. And many owners like this food because it's has less ingredients and it's pretty clear what's in the food. And so that transparency makes it really easy for them to do an elimination diet. Another brand that I've heard come up a lot when talking about allergies and dogs itching or licking their paws is something called the Honest Kitchen. And this is a brand that, rather than traditional kibble, they have a lot of dehydrated and rehydrated food, and there's a lot of different recipes and protein options, but the ingredient list is also pretty simple, which makes it pretty easy to make sure you know what you're feeding your dog. Another thing that comes up a lot when people are talking about allergies and trying to figure out what to do when their dog's licking their paws, eating their paws, scratching behind their ears, is they talk about raw food. And it can be sort of polarizing, honestly. Some people feel like it's a lot of work, it's not worth it, or they're worried about their dog getting sick from raw food or something like that. And then there's a lot of other people who think that this is something great to try. I mean, that's what a dog would normally eat in the wild. They would eat raw food. So it would only make sense that this might lead to less allergies and less issues because this is what they should be eating. So that's also another option people can explore when they're changing the diet. One of the raw dog food companies that I have a lot of experience with, just from research and ordering it for my dog, is We Feed Raw. So when trying an elimination diet, this can be a great option. Their ingredient list is incredibly simple. They have so many different protein options, and it's very straightforward. There's no carbs, there's no fillers. It's just what the dog needs to be eating, and you know exactly what your dog is getting. So another feature a lot of owners really like is that you can customize the dog meal plan, basically. So you go into their website, you can do a quiz, you can explain what you need the dog food for, whether it's allergies or they're lethargic or they need to lose weight or gain weight, whatever it is, they can sort of target the food for that specific problem. And so that can be a really good way to get started to see if that can help your dog with licking their paws. The other thing I want to make sure I address about We Feed Raw is, and I'm going to read for a second because I don't like to get this one wrong, is that they use high pressure processing with their raw food, which is a food safety process used throughout the industry, and it's formulated its recipes to meet AAFCO nutritional standards. So for people who are worried that their dog might get sick from raw food, it's helpful to know that We Feed Raw goes one extra step. They don't just freeze the food. They use this high pressure processing, and it does a better job of killing the bacteria that could potentially live in raw food. And so it's just something worth noting that if that's something, if you have an aversion to feeding your dog raw food because you're worried about that, it's a good option to consider We Feed Raw. There are plenty of other dog food companies that offer raw food, and one of the ones that I keep coming across is Stella and Chewy's. And they offer both frozen and freeze-dried options. And again, their ingredient list is also very simple. You can choose different proteins. But a lot of people who don't want to deal with the raw food and have it be frozen and just deal with the process of feeding that to their dog, they really like the freeze-dried aspect of this. It just seems to make it a lot easier for them. And this flexibility means that they're more likely to be consistent with this food and give it a chance to help their dog a little bit. So, what is the best dog food for paw licking? I assume that's sort of why you clicked on the video, and I wish I had a very clear answer for you, but I don't. There isn't a best dog food for paw licking. The truth is that every dog is different. It's really just trial and error. And for one dog, kibble might be fine, and that long list of ingredients may have no impact on their skin health or their itchiness or their allergies. And for another dog, they might suffer from a lot of those conditions when they eat kibble with a lot of ingredients. Another dog might eat raw food, and that might help them tremendously. And another one, it might not help very much. So the goal really is just to find a food that helps your dog feel better and allows you to gather answers and just figure out what's going on and support them. And I really do wish that there was an answer for you. I've been sort of leaning towards We Feed Raw just because I like how simple it is and that there's no additives, no carbs. There's really nothing in it except what the dog is supposed to eat. So I really like that part of it. But again, there's really no right answer here, unfortunately. Even though I wasn't able to give you a specific definitive answer, I do hope that this helped you a little bit just to sort of understand that there could be a lot of factors causing your dog to lick their paws, and there's a lot of ways to try to fix that situation, whether it's through food or seeing your vet, allergy shots. I mean, there's really a lot of different options, and the best thing you can do is just take certain steps to try to make them as comfortable as possible. So yeah, I hope this helped. If you've dealt with this before and you had any sort of luck or any solution, I'd love to hear about it, what you fed them, and anything else that you have found to be helpful.